Hello all, and welcome back to the program.
The program?
Yes, the program.
You make it sound so official.
Well, it is official. The Cave's first and only podcast, stirring thoughts and bringing laughter in hundreds of fellow prisoners.
Fair enough.
Shall I do the intro now?
It's all yours.
Cave Talks. Season 7, Episode 3 of the podcast about our lives and
more than ever,
the cave that revolves around them. So, what's on your mind these days, Georgios?
Well, the first thing I was going to bring up was the weather. It's starting to get really cold in here. And
Shh! It's starting!
It's starting?
The morning parade is starting! We interrupt this conversation to bring you the latest news from the morning parade. The first items are beginning to come into view, and it's...
A jug.
A jug? Again? Why do they always start with a jug?
Almost always. They started with a goat yesterday.
Well, yesterday was raining, so maybe it's got something to do with that. And subsequently, we now see the mighty Apollo riding his chariot, starting from the left, moving rightward.
And that's a fig tree, if I'm not mistaken. Those are my favorite.
Yes, my co-host is right indeed.
I'll bet you we get a seashell next, or a sea creature of some sort.
Place your bets. Place your bets. The next figure is a conch shell.
Oh, I don't believe it. Anyway, Mirto, I wonder what your thoughts are on the patterns in the figures.
Like what? Predicting the future based on the current state of events?
Not exactly. Obviously, we know that moth plus Artemis plus hand signals the end of the day when they turn off the light and let us sleep.
Quintuple.
My question is there always a pattern to the figures?
Always? That's a big question. They're never the same from one day to another, so I'm not sure how we'd prove that.
We'd acknowledge the following. Any deviation
Dog.
in the sequence of
Barrel.
figures from a certain base sequence signals some change in events for us. I'm not really sure how to explain it properly.
We've got a hand coming across the wall.
I've got it. How didn't we notice this before? Prior to them feeding us, it's always hand plus jug plus whatever food they come up with.
Oh, so by that logic, if we get another hand followed by a...
What do you know? It's a hand.
This makes a lot of sense.
Okay, there's the jug. And...
Goat! We're getting goat for breakfast! You better be right about this. If yes, that's really smart.
I know.
Anyways, it's time to stir our listeners' thoughts. Let me tell you this completely random story.
Sure.
Imagine a man whose chains wrapped all around his eyes so he wouldn't be able to see.
It's a little hard to picture, but okay, I can roll with that.
Now, this man has a storyteller constantly by his side, whispering in his ear what's going on in the world.
What do you mean?
Say the storyteller would whisper jug, fig tree, mackerel, wheat sheaf, and so on. Oh, and I forgot to mention this, but the man was born with chains over his eyes, and the storyteller by his side.
It's not a very realistic scenario. How would they...
It's not supposed to be realistic. Just think.
Well, I suppose in this example, the man's only experience of the world would be through the storyteller's words. To him, wheat sheaf is an object composed entirely of the words whispered in his ear.
Exactly! And the storyteller would be able to shape the man's reality to suit his own desires.
He could convince the man there was a cypress tree passing by when in reality it was a date.
Now suppose that the chains were taken off the man's eyes and he was finally able to see the cave wall and the figures on it.
It would be a shock.
It would be a huge shock. He wouldn't know, he wouldn't be able to conceive, he wouldn't be able to connect the idea of a jug to the true form of a jug in real life. He would have no conception of that shape.
So, would the man prefer it with the chains over his eyes or without? Would he prefer the false reality he grew up with?
That is the question.
I think the man would prefer the false reality. It would feel safe, like home to him.
I disagree. The man should and will prefer the true reality outside, where he can see the cave.
So what's the lesson from this little story of yours? I hope you're not trying to suggest that we're trapped in some kind of false reality.
We might be. There might be some unimaginable reality outside of the cave somehow. The true shape of objects could have some unimaginable dimension to them.
But it wouldn't matter. We can't escape the cave, nor should we.
Why not?
Because it would make our lives pointless. It would
make our current lives pointless. Imagine the knowledge we could get if we could find the truth.
Truth?
Uh-huh. With a capital T.
That's just your imagination running wild.
That's not the point. Imagine what life would be without having to watch the morning show.
Look, our food is here. And it's goat. What did I tell you?
Yeah, it is. Wait, what was I saying?
Not sure.
Whatever it is, it probably wasn't important.
And that's that for the philosophy project.
Hell yeah, it only took like 15 takes.
Something to think about, you know?
Yeah.
Philosophy and all this.
Yeah, at least we're not trapped in a false reality like our characters that we play.
Idiots, those characters.
Do you think she got the point?
The point.
The point of the project.
The point of the project.
I don't know. Maybe you should tell us?